Hello, I'm Kristen Ward, and I'm the CEO of Solvere Living. And Lorie Dancy is with us today. She is the Chief Wellness and Compliance Officer for Solvere Living. So we are here today to talk about wellness and well-being. So Lorie, what is well-being? It's a really big word.
Yes, it is. And when we think about well-being, oftentimes we're thinking of certain things like nutrition and exercise. But well-being is so much more than that. And well-being is not just the absence of illness, but well-being is your life and what you contribute to it and what adds to your life, even in the presence of illness. So it really encompasses looking at yourself in a very holistic way, more than just this is the diagnoses or the medication or the exercise that I have to do. It's a whole lot of things that contribute to overall wellness and well-being. So when you think of your physical well-being, your social and spiritual and intellectual well-being, all of those things really play a significant role and a major role in having overall well-being.
So let's break those down. Let's talk about each of those four. So tell me a little bit about physical well-being.
Yes, so physical well-being, it is very important to have that physical activity as a part of one's daily life. 3 times a week, 5 times a week, that's fantastic. A little bit every day is even better. So physical well-being is very important in so many areas of one's overall health, whether it is their physical health, their heart, their organs, or their emotional health and their psychosocial well-being. So for instance, at a Solvere community, physical exercise is something that is factored into the daily routine of engagement and offered on a daily basis, at least, because it is just that important to partake in physical exercise. Learning to recognize signs and symptoms of maybe not feeling well, that's looking at your body physically as well. And the supportive teams that are in place at a Solvere community also contribute in helping a resident to do that. We are monitoring for those things. We're looking at them multiple times a day. And then there's that formalized process on a monthly basis that helps us to identify or recognize signs or symptoms of maybe potential illness that could be there. And then something as simple as eating your breakfast is really important. Just having that breakfast meal, it is truly the most important meal of the day. And it's important to start with that. So that's a small step that at a community we offer and make sure that is in place, but also just as an individual, as a person, something that you can do for yourself today is to do just that. Make sure you have breakfast every day. Make sure that you are eating in a healthy way, trying to use less salt, less sugar, less fat, those types of things. Getting an adequate amount of hydration and water in your body. So those are some things that we all can do. And those are just some examples of what you will see at a Solvere community from a physical aspect of well-being.
So how about social?
Social well-being is it's fun. It adds to a person in so many ways. It's so important to form healthy relationships with individuals, and that is something that is definitely fostered at a Solvere community. Social interaction and engagement is a part of something that we do every single day. And so there are different opportunities that are there to engage socially with other residents, with team members as well. So social engagement is very important in developing that in your own life as well. Personally, it's very important to seek out relationships with people where they can offer you something positive or bring some satisfaction to your life personally. So that's important to do as well. getting involved in things outside of maybe your norm or outside of your routine. It's important to do that as well. Even now, just personally, outside of, even being in a Solvere community, we do that. There's a lot of opportunity for involvement, but that's something that everyone can do even right now. As well as, I would say, volunteering. We do offer a lot of volunteer opportunities at a Solvere community. And it could be something great, or it could be something very small. Making something possibly for the local hospital, children's center or unit, a variety of things that we do as well. So that's an example.
Great. So then the third dimensions of wellness, and not in any particular order, right? But the third one is spiritual. So talk a little bit about the spiritual dimension then.
Sure. So the spiritual dimension of wellness is really all about developing peace and harmony within oneself. It's not associated or affiliated necessarily with any formal religion or organization, but it's bringing that peace and that centeredness to yourself. And there are many ways that that can be achieved. It's really important for individuals to explore who they are spiritually, whether that may be through meditation, it could be through prayer, it could be through just being alone and silent and quiet and still. There are many ways to develop that spiritual dimension of wellness within a person, but being fully present in your daily life is really important. And at a Solvere community, that's something that we definitely encourage the residents to do in a variety of ways. Whether it is through engagement in a program, whether it is through conversation around a meal in the dining room, whether it is just a one-on-one engagement with maybe a team member who's working, but be fully present with whatever you are participating in. So we encourage that in a variety of different ways. And that is as well something that is important for everyone to do, I would say, as a part of their daily life.
Sometimes it's hard to be still.
It is.
Got it.
It is.
And then the intellectual dimension of wellness.
Yes. So, cognition, developing the brain, maintaining functionality of the brain are all great things, We know there are diseases that affect the brain. So working towards either developing your intellect or maintaining your intellect or slowing the decline of it are all very important things to focus on, dependent upon where you are as an individual. So there are many different opportunities to do that. We mentioned some earlier, some of that comes through nutrition even, and developing that in a certain way. But there are various ways that at a Solvere community, we integrate that. And one of my favorite ways that we do that is through our Travel Times program. And we visit a certain location, or we bring that certain location to the community on a quarterly basis. It really feels like we're visiting because it truly comes to life. That location is a true experience. But as a part of that experience, the residents all get to have a lesson in the language of that location. Okay. So that's a great example and a great way to really develop your brain. Research has shown that learning a new language definitely is a way to challenge the brain. So that's an example of something that we do on a quarterly basis, at least, to challenge and to build intellect and cognition.
And I noticed on Facebook, following the Solvere communities on Facebook, some great programs this month in March for Greece, learning about the art and then participating in art projects surrounding it. The language, as you mentioned, cooking. I mean, there were a number of different facets of learning all about Greece, the country, the art, the language, the food, every component of it.
Yes, yes. There's so many, much like ourselves, a holistic approach to well-being. There's so many different things and options and experiences that creates a total experience. So, the travel times experience, visiting the one location, there's so many things that factor into that. And it's truly a great analogy, honestly, to what we need to do for ourselves.
That's great. Thanks, Lorie. I guess, in summary, overall wellness benefits, when you look at what well-being is and that it's holistic and it involves a lot of different components, the benefits can have huge impacts on our lives. And a few here that I will look at, but are really important to note, I think, that, more positive and less negative emotions, right, can lead to being more resilient to adversity. So you can handle and overcome problems, adversity, challenges much better when you have an overall sense of well-being and focus in all areas, right? Love this one. Happier people live longer. So I guess research shows that people live on average 7.5 years longer when they're happy in all areas of wellness. Also, another benefit, of course, is being more immune to illness, and of course, lowering our risk of mental health problems, which you've talked about in prior areas when we've talked about wellness, well-being, and the holistic approach. It has such a big impact on so many different facets. And then the optimism, just having an optimistic outlook reduces the risk of a heart attack by 50%. So we can all remember that these days, and try to find ways to be optimistic with everything going on. So I really appreciate going more in depth in the 4 dimensions of wellness and talking about them. So,
Sure.
Thanks.
You're welcome.